Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly. This is Grizzly True Crime, and today we are back to discuss a cold case that was recently presumed solved with an arrest after 36 years. So what we did was a deep dive, and then I also did a recap, a shorter version for you. So please do check those out if you want to know more about the case in that way, like a beginner's, guide to it. But today we are going to do a follow-up, and I'm also going to read you the probable cause affidavit, which wasn't available until what just happened. Meaning, the suspect died in his cell. They believe that he did it to himself, but the police have said that they will be doing an autopsy, and that could take 12 weeks. So yeah, I'm not going to wait 12 weeks to talk about this with you. We're going to talk about it right now. What just happened, because we just deep dived this case, and we're going to read the documents we weren't able to read before. Marie Jubenville said, "Good afternoon, Gisela. Everyone, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you so much for being a member for 11 months. Welcome to all the mods, patrons, members, subscribers, any new people here as well, and of course, any locals. The guy, Floyd William Parrott, was arrested in Nebraska, but the case happened, it dates back to August 22nd of 1990 in Houston, Texas. Stefan said Tox report probably. Yeah, that's why that would take so long, right? Yeah, so I'll tell you now what the news was, but this dates back to August 22nd of 1990, where 22-year-old Cheryl Henry and her 21-year-old boyfriend, Andy Atkinson, were found murdered in a remote area where they'd went out with Cheryl's sister that night, and then they went to this little area to chill out, and then their bodies were found the next day. And yes, trigger warning, of course, this is true crime, content for adults only, for educational purposes only, and all that, right? Their throats had been cut, and they were found murdered, brutally murdered, and it took 36 years for an arrest to be made. And they arrested this 64-year-old Floyd William Parrott, who had spent some time in prison already, who was a giant red flag, who was impersonating police officers left and right over his criminal career, and who is a suspect in another cold case, which, see, I'm waiting for that as well. I'm waiting for them to tell us what other cold case. They say it's in Louisiana. So that tells me, damn, multiple states, huh? And the other cold case, is it one victim, two? What are we talking? Is it another double homicide? Is this a serial killer? I definitely think this guy was serial killer material. So let me first show you this, okay? Before we get into everything, I want to show you this quickly. This is, wait, let me show it to you like this so you can see it closer. There you go. This is the playlist called Cold Cases, Unsolved, and Solved. And I'm really liking how many of these cold cases are getting solved lately. I just watched a press conference today from another one in Placer County. Tell me in the comments below after the live stream if you want me to cover cold cases that are solved lately. Solved and unsolved. But I really like that all these advancements in DNA technology are solving so many cold cases lately. I mean, that one dates back to 1991, the one I was watching today. So, Cold Cases, Unsolved and Solved is the playlist. It's linked in the description box for you. And you can see that here, Houston Lovers Lane murders, arrest made after 36 years, full case breakdown. This is where we did a deep dive for almost 2 hours, as you can see, 1 hour 44. And because I know not everybody's going to watch a 1 hour 44 live stream, I made a shorter version as well in the videos section called Cold Case Solved After 3 Decades, of the Lovers Lane murder. So you can watch either one of these to catch up if you want the background of this case, where we did obviously a much deeper dive, map time, full press conference, all the details, mugshots from before, criminal records from before, how this guy was caught. All of that is in this deep dive, okay? So go check that out. Now, what I want to show you is, let's quickly read this article. There's a little press conference we're going to watch too, and we're going to deep dive the PCA today. Okay, so Shelky says, so many cases being solved. Isn't it great? Right? I know the saying goes, justice delayed is justice denied, but I don't think so. You know what I mean? I understand that in some context that makes sense, but rather solved than unsolved forever, right? I'm so glad that they finally, DNA technology and everything else is catching up to these people. They're going to get you. Uncle Google's gonna get you, DNA's gonna get you, and everything else, right? So this is Lincoln, Nebraska. The suspect in a 1990 double murder in Houston died on Tuesday morning in the Lancaster County Jail. So that was on April 28th. He was arrested on March 25th, by the way. So he's been in jail for less than a month, awaiting extradition from Nebraska to Texas. And yeah, he's apparently taken himself out. So it says the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office confirmed that Floyd William Parrott, 64, died while awaiting extradition to Texas. Now, just so you know, in the first episode, I was saying Parrott, because that sounded right. Floyd William Parrott. But then at the press conference, they said, well, we've been saying Parrott, so I'm just saying Parrott now too. Okay, I'm going to say what the investigators say. There's a picture of him from the back. Oh my. It says LSO Chief Deputy Ben Houchin said medical personnel responded to the jail at 7:23 a.m. for a medical emergency involving Parrott. Houchin said the doors to Parrott's cell had been open for some time, but he had not come out. Okay. Correctional staff went to check on Parrott and found him, well, they wrote responsive. Okay, responsive. A little bit he wasn't. Okay, they found him responsive in the cell. They began administering life-saving measures until paramedics arrived, but Parrott was pronounced dead at the scene. Did they mean responsive or unresponsive? I do want to know that. Is that a typo? She-Wolf said, how about Uncle Google and Aunt AI? Exactly. Cousin Grok's gonna get ya. And ChatGPT, the other cousin. Right? Thank you so much for your sticker. So, a lot of cases that we're covering lately, hey, where they're using ChatGPT. Including one we covered recently. The 2 Florida students murdered. Oh my word. Okay, so they began administering life-saving measures until paramedics arrived, but Parrott was pronounced dead at the scene. Harris County District Attorney Sean Terr told KHOU 11, a media outlet in Houston, that Parrott's death appears to be self-inflicted. I'm censoring for YouTube. 10:11 contacted the Harris County District Attorney's Office for confirmation, but has not received a response. Houchin doesn't believe that Parrott he wasn't in a smock. He wasn't on self-deletion watch, medical watch, or any other special housing monitoring status before his death. He didn't think to watch him? You know, because I don't know how the families feel about this. Normally they want justice to be served. They want the person to face the music. They want, this to know that this is definitely the person, because, up to then he's presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Anyway, so maybe watch them. Anyway, so especially someone who might like ultimate control. Maybe they're going to take control in their own way once in jail if they're not being watched. So it says one of the things, especially when it's this public, we want to make sure that we have our ducks in a row and our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted before we come out and say anything and give a cause of death, Houchin told 1011 Wednesday. The Sheriff's Office is investigating the in-custody death and is working in coordination with the Lancaster County Department of Corrections. Next of kin has been notified. Lancaster County Attorney Pat Condon ordered an autopsy to be conducted on Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. It may take between 10 to 12 weeks for lab results to come back. Once LSO's investigation is complete, a team of homicide investigators will examine the evidence and present the findings to Condon. A grand jury will then review the matter. Okay, grand jury. All right. It could be a while before we know everything, Houchin said. Parrott was arrested in Lincoln on March 25th. He was charged with 2 counts of capital murder in Texas in connection with the killings of 22-year-old Cheryl Henry and 21-year-old Andy Atkinson. He was also charged with 1 count of being a fugitive from justice in Lancaster County Court and was expected to make his next court appearance on Thursday at 10 a.m. Like he died 2 days before his next court appearance. Sure. Floyd William Parrott thought he could outrun the truth. He thought the time would erase his past, but prosecutors and investigators never stopped working the Lovers Lane cold case. Parrott murdered Andy and Cheryl. He violently assaulted others and spent decades thinking he got away with it. We now know that he thought he escaped justice while hiding out in Nebraska. Since Parrott's arrest, we can confirm new survivors have come forward, bravely reliving the horrors that he inflicted in painful detail. So there could be more charges that he would have faced. I hope they're able to close those cases now and really know that that was him. You know what I mean? After decades in some of these crimes, we had hoped to answer their courage with action. Okay, so this is quoted from the official statement of we're going to watch the press conference as well. But it says, we ache for Andy and Cheryl's families who were denied their day in court. Our anger for what Parrott took from them is matched only by our determination to keep going. Yes, we are still working. Parrott's death does not erase his crimes or end our motivation. It does not bring comfort to the people he hurt, which is why we are in Louisiana, right now seeking to close a cold case. Linked to Parrott. His survivors deserve accountability. We keep the memory of Andy and Cheryl at the center of our work. To families still searching for answers in cold cases, never give up. I do like that message. Never give up. It's never too late. Cases can be solved no matter how long it took, right? Court Lucas said, calculation, in my opinion, he was about to get lisked. D-Bullet said, yep, he took the easy way out for now. Unfortunately, based on what we know so far, right? So they haven't confirmed at the press conference that he definitely took himself out, but that is what's being reported, and they are investigating it, right? Someone said, Lori says, dang coward. Okay, so now let's watch this press conference together. It's only 5 minutes long. And then we're going to read the PCA that is now available, that wasn't available, especially because it's Texas. I don't know if they would have made it available before trial. You know what I mean? Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they seal a lot of things. Okay, so let's watch this one together here.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. I do want to confirm that Lancaster County Sheriff's Office is working the in-custody death of Floyd Parrott. This morning at 7:23 a.m., medical personnel responded to the jail on a medical emergency involving Parrott. He was pronounced dead at the jail.
I don't know if that's loud enough for you guys. I'm going to just boost it a little bit. How about that? Just a little bit.
The Lancaster County Attorney's Office asked the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office to investigate the in-custody death, which we are doing, and it is very early into the investigation. Parrott was arrested in Lincoln on March 26, 2026, on a warrant from Harris County, Texas, for the 1990 Houston double murders. An autopsy has been ordered and will be performed tomorrow at 8:30. This is a grand jury case, so we will not be able to give out a whole ton of information on the case. But again, we are investigating it. We take all these deaths, the in-custody deaths, extremely seriously. And as soon as we know, I know the public is very interested in what happened, and we will release information as it comes. Pat Condon, County Attorney, is going to say a few words to the police.
Yes, thank you again for everybody being here. Mr. Floyd Parrott was being held at the Lancaster County Adult Facility on my fugitive from justice complaint at the time of his death. Mr. Parrott had refused to voluntarily waive extradition to face the criminal charges pending in Texas. So my office was working closely with authorities from Harris County District Attorney's Office in Houston to secure a governor's warrant. My office expected the governor's warrant to be served on Mr. Parrott within the next few days. That governor's warrant would have initiated the proceedings to involuntarily return Mr. Parrott to the custody of the Texas law enforcement to face his criminal charges there. Upon learning of Mr. Parrott's death while in custody this morning, I did order an autopsy to be conducted as part of a complete death investigation. Under Nebraska law, the death of an inmate in custody requires an investigation as would be completed in any other homicide. Law enforcement personnel is required and did immediately secure the scene and preserve all evidence. A full death investigation has begun by the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office, and as required by Nebraska law, the case shall be treated as an open and ongoing matter until all evidence, reports, and other relevant material are gathered and transferred to my office for review. A team of experienced homicide investigators will be assembled to ultimately examine all evidence concerning the case of the death and present the findings of its investigation to me. Once that occurs, Mr. Parrott's death is certified. A grand jury will be impaneled within 30 days to review the matter. As the investigation is open and ongoing matter, as Chief Deputy Houchin said, the county attorney.
Okay, also, if I just look at some other articles about it, most of them say he was discovered unresponsive in his cell. So I think it was a typo in the article already, where they said responsive. He was found unresponsive in his cell. Staff immediately began life-saving measures. Paramedics were there, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. So,
Attorney's office also will be unable to comment further until the conclusion of the grand jury proceedings.
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, did Mr. Parrott have any medical issues that you can release? Did he have any medical problems?
At this time, I do not know if he had any medical problems or issues.
Can you clarify for us, he was just found in his cell like this? Was there a medical call beforehand? I mean...
I do know that corrections staff went and did a check on him and found him needing medical assistance and called and began CPR immediately.
Is there anybody else in his cell, or is he in solitary?
He does have a roommate, but his roommate was not in the room at the time that he was
Interesting.
located.
where was the roommate, huh? I can see why. There's questions. There's other reports. There's local news that said that they spoke to the police department and they say that he self-deleted. But you could see why they are, of course, there's an autopsy being conducted, probably toxicology tests, and just an investigation to make sure, while simultaneously there's still a grand jury investigation going on, particularly with other cold cases that this guy might be linked to.
Can you walk us through, you touched on it briefly, but the next steps, grand jury impaneling, autopsy, just maybe a quick overview of what this looks like?
Well, as you can imagine, in any investigation, there's people we got to talk to, there's video that we need to observe and do that. There is going to be an autopsy. They're going to do a lab, and that takes up to 12 weeks. So I'm going to explain to you, it could be a while before we know everything. And I know on television shows, they find them in an hour, but this just isn't the way it is. And everybody wants us to make sure we do a complete investigation, and I want to make sure I'm 100% satisfied with our findings and before we release cause of death.
Makes sense. Good. At least they updated the public as well with the press conference. Lesia Judd said, "Hi, G and Grizzlies. I'm so happy I don't have to testify now. I was one of the victims." Oh, my word. I'm so sorry to hear that, and for whatever happened to you, or if you maybe knew the victims. I'm glad then that you're glad you don't have to testify, right? Thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate it. Lesia said, "The DA called me. They were going to have me testify against him. I was very young back then." Oh my. If you want to email me any information, I keep all my sources anonymous. My email is grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for being here with us, and welcome to all the locals in chat. And I do hope that the families are okay with this outcome, and other victims as well. I'm sure that was terrifying to think of having to testify against him, right? Even though he took the cowardly way out, apparently, I do hope that everyone will be satisfied that an arrest was made after 36 years, right? Now let's look at this probable cause affidavit, which, as I said, was not available before. Thank you so much to Grizzly Cat for obtaining this for us. I couldn't believe that we got this, but it's, based on what happened. I don't think we would have had this before. I don't think so. I don't think they would have released it without this happening. Okay, so it says State of Texas versus Floyd William Parrott. Now somebody in the chat said it's a French surname, and what did you say? You said it's a French surname. Yeah, Parrott is a French name, and it makes me sick to hear it pronounced. I would think it's like Parrot, right? In France, like French, Parrot. Anyway, but he's from Texas. Floyd William Parrott. Okay, so they're saying it locally as Parrott. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas. Should I get my Texas accent on? We are watching a trial in Texas currently, the Tanner Horner trial, which resumes on Monday, and we can't wait because the defense is supposed to rest on that day, and literally we can't wait. So if you haven't watched any of the trial with us, please come and watch it with us, because Monday is probably going to be a great day. At last the defense will rest. Anyway, so there I've been practicing my Texas accent. Before me, the undersigned Assistant District Attorney of Harris County, Texas, this day appeared, and the undersigned affiant, who under oath says that he has good reason to believe and does believe that in Harris County, Texas, Floyd William Parrott, hereafter styled the defendant, heretofore on or about August 23rd of 1990, did then and there unlawfully during the same criminal transaction intentionally and knowingly cause the death of Cheryl Henry by cutting with a knife, and intentionally and knowingly cause the death of Garland Andrew Atkinson by cutting with a knife. What a brutal crime as well. And also posing the body somewhat. I mean, really, that guy's really serial killer material. I'm really not going to be surprised if it turns out that he was a serial killer, right? Especially also with the impersonating police officers non-stop. Grizzly Cat also sent me a lot of his previous records, and he's a repeat offender of impersonating police officers. And I mean down to the car, with all the little lights and everything, all the fittings. You know, like how John Wayne Gacy did that? He also did that. There's actually a few serial killers that did that, but John Wayne Gacy comes to mind. This guy was going all out and doing it on repeat, and when they said you may not have a firearm, he didn't listen. He still had a firearm too. Oh my word. So anyway, so what a crime. It says probable cause. Yeah, we like probable cause affidavits. Hit the like if you like it when I read documents to you, because I certainly do like it. The defendant was arrested on a probable cause warrant signed by Judge V. Nelson, 482nd District Court. Your affiant, Detective B.W. Neighbors, is a peace officer employed by the Houston Police Department and is currently assigned as a detective with the Homicide Division Cold Case Unit. The affiant has been a police officer for 31 years and has been investigating homicides for approximately 22 years. If you watch part 1, the deep dive with me, and we watched the press conference, yeah, some people have been working this case for literally decades. It must have been such a relief for them when they were able to find this guy, track him down, arrest him, and confirm that his DNA was at the scene, right? So it says, this case is documented under HPD, and there's a whole number there, which affiant has reviewed and is familiar with. The affiant spoke with Sergeants M. Burrow and R. Rodriguez, who are certified peace officers with the Houston Police Department Homicide Division. Sergeants Burrow and Rodriguez were assigned to investigate the double homicide of complainants Cheryl Henry and Garland Andrew Andy Atkinson. The affiant learned the following information. On August 23rd of 1990, Thomas Hooper, a security guard employed in the 1300 block of Enclave Parkway, reported that he was doing routine patrol when he observed a white Honda Civic parked in the cul-de-sac of Enclave A, a side street off the parkway, and a public place in Houston, Harris County, Texas. Thomas Hooper became concerned when the vehicle had not moved for several hours, and he observed a purse on the passenger side floorboard of the vehicle. Thomas Hooper eventually located a driver's license inside the purse, which was returned to a Cheryl Henry, hereafter complainant Henry. The family of complainant Henry was contacted, and Thomas Hooper learned that the complainant Henry had been reported missing by her family earlier that day. After learning that complainant Henry was missing, police officers were contacted, and eventually HPD Officer Ash arrived at the cul-de-sac on Enclave, and after looking at the adjacent wooded area next to the cul-de-sac, discovered the body of an unclothed female underneath wooden boards in what appeared to be an attempt to cover the body. Okay, I'm actually going to put this trigger warning on the screen, of course, just for anyone that joins us in the middle of reading this document, because they might be like, what am I walking into? And it's really horrific, right? Okay. The wolf said, Lesia, G always says you have a seat. Of course. Lesia said, forgive me, I need to take a break from hearing this case. Let me come back. No problem. We will save you a seat. Thank you for saying hi to us and being here with us. All right, so it says it appeared that she had severe injuries to her neck caused by a sharp object, like a knife. The female was later identified as complainant Henry, based on the identification found in her purse. A scene investigation was conducted, and the body of the second complainant, later identified to be Atkinson, was discovered by HPD Officer Wilson approximately 150 to 200 yards from where the complainant Henry was discovered. The report noted that the complainant Atkinson's body appeared to be sitting on the ground, propped up against a tree. The report noted that the complainant Atkinson's hands were also tied behind his back, like complainant Henry, with what appeared to be, Sergeant Burrow, based on his review of the photos, is substantially similar to the rope used to tie up complainant Henry. The report further noted that another rope was observed tying Atkinson to the tree with a rope going across the complainant's neck. It also appeared that the complainant Atkinson's neck had severe injuries caused by a sharp object like a knife. The Honda Civic found at the Enclave cul-de-sac was documented as belonging to complainant Atkinson. During the scene investigation, Sergeant T. Boyd documented his observations inside of the Honda Civic, including that the driver's seat was in a fully reclined position with the rubber floor mat pushed out of position. Sergeant Bloyd, it says, further documented what he believed to be blood on the side of the driver's seat and on the inside of the driver's door near the door handle. The driver's side visor was removed and sitting on top of the passenger seat. The vehicle's key was found in the ignition. So it was a very strange scene, eh? Additionally, Sergeant Bloyd observed a blue dress and white jockey shorts or underwear, along with a bra, near where the complainant Henry's body was found. The underwear appeared to be cut, as though it was cut off the complainant. The affiant further learned from the offense report related to the homicide that detectives spoke to the complainant Henry's sister, Shane Henry. She was at the press conference when this arrest was made. So if you want to see Cheryl's sister speaking, you could see it there in part 1, right? That we did the deep dive on, which I'll link for you in the description box and the pinned comment afterwards. So it says, Henry's sister Shane Henry and learned the following. The complainants had a dating relationship a few weeks prior to the murder. On the night before the murder, on August 22nd of 1990, Shane and her sister went to a nightclub. The complainant Henry was wearing a blue dress that night, according to Shane. Complainant Atkinson met the sisters there at Bayou Mama's, and the three of them hung out and drinking and having a good time. At approximately 10:45 p.m., Shane left the location to go home, leaving the complainants at Bayou Mama's. The next day, complainant Henry did not show up to work at her job, and her family became concerned and filed a missing persons report with HPD. Sergeant Burrow advised the affiant that he reviewed the autopsy reports related to the two complainants. Both autopsies were performed by Dr. E. Bellas, a pathologist with the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office. Dr. Bellas determined that the cause and manner of death in both the complainants' cases was homicide caused by sharp force injuries to the neck. During the autopsies, biological samples were collected from both complainants' bodies, including a complete sexual assault examination from complainant Henry. Despite efforts made by the HPD Homicide Division, the case remained unsolved for 36 years. Oh my word. Okay, you guys are pointing out what? The complainant, right? Complainant or served in a department. Okay, Caroline said, it seems to me the author of this report really had no clear idea what the term complainant means or served in a department with policies that required a misuse of that term due to ignorance. It's a bit, we haven't seen that before in a document, right? Like the victim? Okay. So, okay, where were we now? I lost my place. Hold on. From the complainant. Despite efforts made, yes, the case remained unsolved. The affiant was advised by Sergeant Burrow that during his review of the case file, he learned that a tip was provided to the Houston Police Department naming Floyd William Parrott. Didn't mean to actually cross that out. Sorry about that. Wait. Floyd William Parrott, hereafter the defendant, as a possible perpetrator for the homicides of Henry and Atkinson. The tipster provided their name and contact information. Thank goodness for that tip, right? And Sergeant Burrow was able to speak with the tipster to confirm information provided in the tip. While investigating the tip in late 2025, Sergeant Burrow reviewed an HPD police report from 1996 related to a sexual assault where Floyd William Parrott was the suspect. According to the report, Parrott claimed the sex was consensual. Yeah, wouldn't he? At the time, Floyd William Parrott was identified as a white male with a date of birth of March 12th of 1962 by his Texas driver's license. That is public record. I'm not sharing anything I'm not supposed to be sharing. Floyd William Parrott is deceased. That's a YouTube disclaimer. The DNA from the 1996 case was recently placed into the CODIS database. I know, in part 1 and the recap, we were like, if that had been done sooner, hey. Anyway, Sergeant Burrow advised the affiant that he has reviewed several DNA reports and CODIS reports along with the offense report related to this investigation. The affiant is familiar with the CODIS database based on training and experience and knows it to be a combined DNA index system that acts as a national repository for DNA profiles in the United States that collects data from local, state, and federal labs to match DNA across crime scenes. Okay, so It also has the DNA profiles of missing persons and convicted offenders. Sergeant Burrow advised the affiant that there was a CODIS case-to-case match between the male profile in the 1996 case, where the defendant was the accused and admitted to the sexual contact, and the DNA recovered from the swabs recovered in Cheryl Henry's sexual assault examination at her autopsy. In addition, a June 1990 sexual assault case also had a case-to-case hit on the same unknown male. In the 1990 case, the suspect was unknown to the complainant, but the complainant was able to give a description of her assailant. In May of 1988, the defendant was arrested and subsequently placed on probation for impersonating a peace officer in Harris County, Texas. It was noted in the arrest report related to this offense that the defendant provided his work address. Based on a Google search, they're talking Uncle Google, Google Maps, it was noted that this work address is just over 1 mile away from the crime scene where Henry and Atkinson were murdered. In the early 1990s, this part of Harris County, Texas was undeveloped and considered remote. In December of 1988, the defendant was arrested for carrying a weapon and subsequently convicted in Harris County, Texas. It was noted in the arrest report related to this offense that the gun the defendant possessed was a blue steel revolver. The records revealed that the gun was later returned to the defendant. A blue steel revolver matches the description provided by the sexual assault complainant from the June 1990 incident. In December of 1988, the defendant was arrested for carrying a weapon and subsequently convicted in Harris County, Texas. In May of 1990, the defendant was arrested for impersonating a peace officer and subsequently convicted in Harris County, Texas. Sergeant Burrow noted from the records that the defendant was on bond for this incident when the June 1990 sexual assault occurred and the August 1990 capital murder of complainants Henry and Atkinson. Based on Sergeant Burrow and Rodriguez's investigation and review of criminal arrest and conviction records related to the defendant, he's a white male, would have been 28 years old at the time of the HCSO sexual assault case and the murders in 1990, and was listed in a May 1990 arrest report, HPD, there's the case number, as being 6 foot, 185 pounds with brown hair and a mustache. I know you guys might say mustache. We say mustache. I'm South African, right? Which matched the description provided by the June 1990 sexual assault complainant. So that's how they caught this guy. Thank goodness for that tip that was called in, right? Detective Sergeant Burrow further learned the defendant has a criminal history with several arrests in the late 1980s and early 1990s, placing him in the Houston, Harris County, Texas area in the 1990s. Research of the defendant's criminal history showed that the defendant was not in police custody during the June 1990 sexual assault and during the August 22nd to 23rd, 1990 homicides of Henry and Atkinson, or during the August 7th, 1996 sexual assault. So he went on, he repeated the behavior and escalated, because in between there's a double homicide, and they're now looking at a cold case out of Louisiana that they believe he's tied to. Okay, so it says, based on the affiant's review of the offense report and supporting documentation, as well as speaking with Sergeants M. Burrow and R. Rodriguez, the affiant believes that Floyd William Parrott tied up and murdered Atkinson by cutting his throat, and tied up complainant Henry, cut off her underwear, leaving Atkinson's blood behind, essayed Henry, and then murdered her by cutting her throat. Oh man. And apparently what we discovered last time was that he would have tied up the boyfriend against the tree and then gone on to essay and kill his girlfriend in front of him, and then go back and kill him. That's the order they think it happened. That is just, oh man. Murdered her. Okay, so Sergeant Burrow advised the affiant that he interviewed the defendant on March 25th of 2026, and he denied having ever known Cheryl Henry. Upon arrest, Sergeant Burrow also identified the defendant by Texas driver's license. That one is redacted. So there is the document we probably wouldn't have seen for a long time. Now we have that with a few more details in it that we didn't maybe know before. I think a lot of it we did know, that we had deep dive before, but some of it there was new. Let me know if you picked up on new information, something you didn't know. Is this your first time studying this case? If so, you got homework. You got to watch part 1. Just do that. You don't have to watch the recap, because the recap came from part 1. It's just if you only have 30 minutes, watch the recap. If you have 1 hour 44, watch the full thing, because that press conference they had was very detailed. All right, everyone, wishing you a lovely, whatever time it is for you, afternoon, evening, maybe it's morning already for you somewhere else, like in Australia. Thank you for being here, and see you maybe tomorrow, and definitely on Monday for the Tanner Hornet trial, okay? Bye, everyone.